Google Shopping announced some big changes yesterday. According to a company blog post penned by Sean Scott, good alliterative name, the VP GM of Google Shopping, a number of changes are coming, and here is how they work. Say, for example, Anne, you were to search for men's winter jacket for Seattle.
Oh,
And then
yes.
Google will now provide an AI brief with the most important things you should know before investing in a new coat for this climate. It'll show products recommended by sources from across the web and an explanation of why they're a fit for your needs. You'll also see categories that give you a more organized view of the types of jackets to consider. And for those who want to research more deeply on the web, you can also easily click through to relevant articles, which is a key point. In addition, your results will also include dynamic filters that let you zero in on your preferences, like if you need a certain size or want something available near you. Also important. And finally, Anne, because I know you were curious, I know how big of a Google fan you are. What about pricing? I'm sure that's what's going on in your
Oh,
head.
yes.
New
I want to
Google
know.
Shopping feature. You want to know, right? The
Yes.
new Google Shopping features not only include deal finding tools like price comparison, price insights, and price tracking throughout, but also a new dedicated and personalized deal page where you can browse deals for you by just clicking the deals link at the top of your page to explore. All right, Ann, since you started me off hot, I'm coming in hot, and I'm going to put you on the spot this week. This is not the
Oh,
official
boy.
A&M put you on the spot question. This is the Walton put you on the spot question. Because
This is a
last week,
junkyard version, the junkyard
yes,
version of the A&M put you on the spot. Yes. Okay.
exactly right. Yes, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, Ann, because last week you said Google's Lens announcement was a headline of the year candidate. So does this week's Google Shopping headline rank higher or lower in your estimation than Google Lens did last week in terms of the long-term impact on retail scale? The floor is yours.
Yes, I would say, let me clarify. I think that the component of the headline of the year last week with Google Lens was really more about how it's going to be a key component to changing how we search. And that's really a combination of both using visual elements to search in conjunction with the ability to use text search in that like whole search experience, to use voice to help you search. And so I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think this is probably the headline, but Lens is a key component of this announcement too, because this to me this ultimately signals like we Google is changing where we go to search when we're shopping for things. And the key thing that's differentiated between Google and Amazon here is that Google is enabling discovery and like your seek and destroy mission, as you would say, Chris, to
Mm-hmm.
find that product and take it home with you. And so I think that's what's fundamental here about what Google is doing. I think, it's just going to keep getting better as the algorithm learns more and the product descriptions get better and companies start to feed some of the content that's in these algorithms. And I think lastly, this also makes a case again for Own It or another platform that we've talked about on the show multiple
Mm-hmm.
times, because you, as the owner of the product, as the person selling this product, you have so much more data about that you can start to feed into the shopping experience that will ultimately make that better for the consumer. So go to Google Shopping. Like go down there right now. Check it out. It is so awesome. I'm so excited for this. Chris, it's a long answer to your question, but that's how I feel about it.
So if I sum it up, Ann, you basically say this
Yes.
is the more important headline of
This is
this
the
year. And
headline.
my
Yes,
hunch, though, in fairness to you, my hunch was you were already thinking about this in terms of when you were
for
discussing
sure.
last week's headline
For
and
sure.
just
For sure.
assuming this was going to come too, right?
Yes,
So
correct. Correct. Yes. And
yeah,
shout out to our friends at Google Shopping who are putting this on, our former Target Store of the Future team too. We got some people over there that are helping make this happen. So go check it out. Drive traffic to
yes,
the site.
yes. Well, and I mean, I 100% agree because I actually think this trumps Google Lens, and the reason I
For
say it is
sure.
because because it works with Google Lens, right? I mean, Google
Yes.
Lens is a part of it in the broader context, and like you
Hmm.
said, it ultimately changes how consumers search and buy products,
Right.
regardless of how many people adopt Google Lens for their searches, right? So the
Yeah.
macro impact of this is potentially bigger, but I think this headline is also important for a number of other reasons because I think, like you mentioned, I think it signals and tells everyone what's coming next. And so first of
Yeah.
all, and there's 4 points I'd call out. So first, you've got natural language based search, which is
Hmm.
we've talked about a lot. It's coming. But then the other interesting one that I alluded to when I was reading the headline, filtering searches down based on language versus preset filters decided by some random taxonomist, which has
Right.
always been a crutch of e-commerce. Like it used to frustrate me like hell when I was running e-commerce because you can't keep pace with the amount of change that's happening in consumer
Right.
trends by, putting that on a taxonomist to
Hmm.
chronicle and catalog and update your website. So that's
Right.
coming to. The third part is, which I think this part's really interesting. It goes back to own it thing too. The complementing of the searches with credible source material, which
Yes.
is something that Google can probably do better than anyone. And then, of course, lastly, the showing of the market availability of the products broadly, like where can you get them across all of retail, side by side, alongside, with price comparisons. Like that's pretty powerful stuff. And that's why Google here is very well positioned. So, but I think the implications of this are also really important if you're a retailer or brand listening,
Yes.
because if you don't have your site built to operate on what people are searching Google for and the questions they are asking Google, if you don't have your product information synced up to that and other people do, you are going to lose in the long run. You are going to lose e-commerce volume in the long run. So that is something you really have to think about, and you've got to start developing a strategy now to compensate for it.
Yeah, 100%. Chris, the other question that I have to ask you is that I think bringing Google Lens into this one more time.
Yeah.
What do you, because Amazon, they've had visual search, right, on the Amazon platform for how long? Like
Oh my
since we
God, since we
started doing this,
started,
right? But
yes,
don't
I
you,
think like probably 10 years, close to 10
okay,
years.
but don't you think it's interesting that Google like Lens was kind of the first like that was something that they launched, and I feel like Google Lens is so much more widely known than any other like individual brand's visual search function. So like this is another component of it that I think is interesting to kind of go backward into that. And now like using our normal search language, like we type something into Google to find products. I think it's so much more natural to like human behavior to search Google in this way, and the results are so much better. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting point. I mean, the statistic for me was like 20% of what was it? 20% of product searches are using Google Lens in their
Yes.
search. Like when
Yes.
people are searching products, they're using Google Lens. So I think that's really powerful. But the other thing, Anne, I think we all know at this point that you love Google Lens. I think it's like you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think that is clearly on the table. So I don't think we need. I think the audience and I are very comfortable with your
You don't
love,
want to
and
hear any
we
more
appreciate
Google
it,
Lens.
and we
All right.
appreciate
All
it.
right.